What's that other book you have on the end there, Bill?
Well, this one here is published by Art Fox, one of our members of our organization.
That's true. That's Professor Art Fox. He is a noted historian and author, and it's certainly a privilege to have him as a member of the General George Washington Minuteman Historical Society. He was voted on by our membership and accepted for membership, and he certainly is a valuable addition to the organization.
He certainly is. He's irreplaceable. His book here is called Pittsburgh During the American Civil War, 1860 to 1865. And in this book, he lists many different camps. Here's a picture of downtown Pittsburgh during the Civil War. It doesn't look like that anymore, but I love old pictures like this. And in this book, he lists all different kinds of camps. It was here in western Pennsylvania. A lot of them don't exist today, but some still do. Roger and I, last fall, were up in Oakland, Pennsylvania. It's pretty much downtown Pittsburgh. And we were metal detecting a couple of campsites up there. We get turned down to a couple of the houses, but some of the other houses let us in. Found some musket ball, mini balls, and we picked up a few, what do you call them, 3-cent silvers and half dimes. That's unusual to find that many. I've actually found 4 at that one spot, and they all had holes in them. All them coins had holes in them and stuff. So, and up in Oakland area, and he lists them in this book here, all different camps, and there's probably 5 or 6 up there, and altogether he claims there's hundreds of these camps all around. One of the biggest ones was actually in Braddock, PA.
Unfortunately, it's all built up with homes.
Exactly, yeah, but it's a great book if you want to know about the Civil War in Pennsylvania, or plus it lists the Allegheny Arsenal, a big supplier of Union.
It's true, and any area that our audience is in, that I'm sure that you have similar local history books, and you certainly would have other resources we're not even aware of. But the point is, anywhere you are, there's history, and you certainly can explore that history, even if you're not on a big budget and you can't afford to travel. Just history's in your backyard, literally.
Yep. And not to get off the subject a little bit about the research and all these different books, but have you guys and girls out there ever experienced out some of these places, you know, especially when there's a lot of conflict or whatever, you experience like somebody's watching you or whatever, you know, and you're like, you can't see anybody, but you know, you feel like somebody's there. A few instances through the years, a lot of that's happened to me, and this one story I'm going to tell you here real quick. A lot of people on the internet have heard this story from me, and I wrote stories about the apparitions while out metal detecting, and a lot of people are intrigued about it because they get the same feeling, you know. So
in fact, you were a guest on the Bugler Shack show several times, and I'm sure you had questions on that very topic, though, among others.
Yes, I've had 1 or 2 questions on that. Plus, I've had a lot of topics on research. Is this stuff really out there? Are we really finding this stuff? Yeah, I think the stuff is still out there. I think we all are finding this stuff out here, and hopefully some of the newer people to metal detecting can use this video and tune their skills into researching and metal detecting. But this one time, going back, say 14 years ago, me and a good friend of mine's Pete, you know Pete.
Oh, absolutely.
And this guy here is like part Indian, or if not half Indian. But anyways, he always got a feeling if a place is good or not. And I think, you know, I got it from him because I tell Roger, I got a great feeling of this place. Good feeling, and we always do well.
Yes, we do.
In some places that don't have a feeling, you don't do quite as well. I don't know what it is, but this one time was up at this old church. It dates back up to 1780s. And it burnt down like twice by the Indians, you know, for the raids and stuff. But in the early days when I was up our melting, some of the relics and the coins we were finding supported the fort. because I found a button that said Fort Hand, and a lot of the coins and a lot of the buttons went back to the French and Indian War. So I actually saw action there, but the original records got burnt for the Indian raids and everything, so we don't really know exactly what happened. But with our time machines and what we use, we're going back to that, and it's telling us, you know, there might have been a fort
It
there.
is in that particular site. I did not have the privilege of knowing Bill and hunting in those days, but I have hunted up there a few times with Bill, and he's right. Even though there may not be documentation, you could very well find sites or history on a known site that was not known previous through any sort of writing. And the site that Bill refers to, there's been British copper coins found, there's been British Army buttons found, and there is no real record of any fort activity in that area.
Yeah, it showed none at all. We even found Vermont coppers, Connecticut coppers, even Pete and I found a Massachusetts copper each up there. And we've done really well as being 2 Spanish half reals found up there. It's been a very nice sight to us. But every time I go up there, I always feel good, got a good feeling of that place. But back 14 years ago, a really strange thing happened to me up there, and it was the first time it really happened. And one time I was digging down on the old road that used to come up behind the cemetery, and there was a cornfield adjacent to it. And I was going along metal detecting, I got this somewhat decent signal. I could tell it was deep, so I started digging down. But the whole time I was digging down, I felt like somebody was behind me, you know, watching me or whatever. So I'm looking around, and I see Pete. You know, he's 50 feet away from me, in front of me. I'm like, well, I ain't Pete. Who could it be? So I kept digging, minding my own business, and I got a really strong feeling somebody behind me. So I started, you know, like that, you know, and I went like this. Holy cow! What is that? I looked again, and what it looked like to me was a Revolutionary War soldier, fully dressed and everything, not hovering, but he was bent over like this when I was kneeled down digging up this button, and he was just looking at me. You know, I think he was more intrigued of the metal detector and what I was doing to find, and what I was doing, and that hole, you believe it or not, I dug a French button out, and it was a 15 regiment. And that was my second one I dug. The original one I dug, the first one, I dug down by Fort Necessity to this one famous place called Juvenile Glen, where the first shot of the French and Indian War took place. I found another 15th regiment down there. But anyways, he saw me down there holding this button up. I'm wiping it off, and I looked back again. I could see him again, then all of a sudden I could feel him like walking away. He's walking up the road, and I just looked and watched, and he sort of went in the cornfield. But every time I go up there, I've been up there hundreds of times, and I always feel like at ease up there. But I could tell you so many different stories of this stuff happening out there. I just think some people are channeled to it, and some people are not.
Well, I certainly, I don't want the show to turn into a Halloween special show, but maybe we'll do one of those someday.
Yeah.
On these apparitions. But there's no doubt that there's been a lot of different reports over the years of people, not necessarily relic hunters, but just people who have been walking in areas that there have been a lot of violent combat. There's been loss of life, and a very violent loss of life. And I don't have a story like Bill's, but I have to say that when I have been on certain sites, that you do feel a presence. Maybe some would say it's your imagination, but you feel a presence that somebody is watching you, and it's just a real factor out there.
Yeah.
In fact,